You've heard the advice. Visualize it, feel it, and it will be yours. But here's the truth. Most people don't need another vision board. They need to stop wishing and start waking up, because what you call manifestation, the Stoics would call self-deception, not because they didn't believe in becoming something greater, but because they knew this. The universe doesn't give you what you ask for, it gives you what you earn. In the modern world, people sit in silence hoping the universe hears them. In the Stoic world, people move in silence, so the universe has no choice but to respond. You don't become powerful by picturing a throne, you become powerful by building a mind that doesn't kneel. So if you've been journaling, scripting, lighting candles, but still feel hollow, undisciplined, stuck, this video is for you. We're going to rip the glitter off the word manifestation and rebuild it through Stoic fire, through unshakable presence, and through action that bends fate. Because the Stoics didn't manifest by dreaming, they manifested by doing. And that's the secret no one wants to hear. Manifestation is not magic, it's discipline. Let's dive in. This is the Stoic path to manifestation, and it's nothing like what you've been told. Let's start with what isn't Stoic manifestation. It's not whispering affirmations at midnight. It's not staring into a mirror and waiting for life to change. It's not writing your dream life 10 times and hoping the universe delivers it like Amazon Prime. That's not vision, that's vapor. Stoicism teaches us to separate what's within our control from what isn't, and modern manifestation advice blurs that line beyond recognition. I'll get rich this year, but you've opened more TikTok videos than books. I'll become successful, but you still won't finish the projects you start. I'll attract my dream life, but your habits attract chaos, inconsistency, and fear. That's not the universe blocking you. That's you, running from the discipline required to build what you keep dreaming of. Seneca said, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." In other words, you don't get lucky, you get ready. And when you're ready, the world responds. Not because the stars aligned, but because your actions became impossible to ignore. Stoic manifestation isn't a wish, it's a weight. You carry it with your actions, with your systems, with your discipline. The world doesn't bend for the most positive person, it bends for the most prepared. The first step of real manifestation isn't belief, it's clarity. Before you chase anything, you must know why, and, more importantly, who you'll need to become to handle it. Most people say they want success, but they can't define it. They chase freedom, but run from structure. They want love, but haven't learned to love their own silence yet. That's why the Stoics emphasize this one thing: clarity of thought, precision in speech, and honesty with self. Because if your desires are vague, so will your path, so will your effort, so will your life. Epictetus said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Not wish, not wait, do." In other words, don't visualize outcomes you're not yet disciplined enough to reach. Visualize the grind. Visualize the early mornings, the setbacks, the humility, the mastery of emotion, the daily walk with virtue, then commit. You don't become great by asking the universe to favor you. You become great by becoming someone the universe can't ignore. Clarity is the seed, but discipline is the water, and time is the sun. You don't manifest by scripting the life you want. You manifest by sculpting the mind that can handle it. There's a dangerous idea spreading that simply wanting something hard enough will make it appear that you can dream your way into a different life. That manifestation is some kind of cheat code to bypass reality. But the Stoics had a much sharper view, and it cuts deeper than any viral motivational quote. They believed in logos, divine reason. But they also believed that reason must be followed by action, because no matter how clearly you can see a mountain, you still have to climb. The world doesn't reward potential, it rewards those who act on it, and action, repeated with discipline, becomes power. Marcus Aurelius didn't sit in his chambers chanting about greatness. He lived it. He rose each morning, battled his desires, confronted hardship, ruled an empire, and wrote meditations, not for applause, but to remain aligned with his core, to remember that virtue and action go hand in hand. He said, Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That's the Stoic view of manifestation. Not to wait, but to become, not to ask, but to embody, not to beg the universe for ease, but to build the character to face anything. Real manifestation is muscle. It's showing up when it's boring, when it's cold, when no one claps, when doubt creeps in and your past self calls you back. It's moving even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Because every time you choose consistency over comfort, you're reprogramming your mind, you're hardening your will, you're transforming your future. You don't need another vision board. You need a system. A set of rituals that remind you who you're becoming and keep you tethered to action, not just hope. That's the Stoic edge. That's how you don't just dream of a better life. You become the kind of person who can handle one. And if you've been vibing with this message so far, now's a good time to hit like. Maybe even share it with someone who needs a bit of grounding too. And don't forget to subscribe. We've got much more to build, and we're doing it the Stoic way. You've heard this one before. What you resist persists, but the Stoics knew something deeper. What you run from rules you, and what you face, you begin to transform. Epictetus was born a slave, beaten, chained, and discarded by society. Yet he became one of the most profound minds in all of history, not by denying the pain, but by walking straight into it, learning to live above it, learning to say, I cannot control what happens to me, but I can choose how I respond. That's the key. That's the razor-sharp Stoic insight that most people miss. Modern manifestation teaches you to feel good now to attract what you want, but Stoicism says, don't run from the discomfort. Sit with it. Because in discomfort lies clarity, in discomfort lies strength, and in discomfort, you finally meet the version of you who's been hiding behind comfort zones and mental distractions. Most people manifest because they want to escape, but the Stoic manifests to evolve, not by wishing, but by becoming harder to break, not by dreaming, but by training the soul to endure. You think it's about having more, but the Stoics remind you, it's about needing less, about being unmoved by chaos, untouched by flattery, unbent by failure. There is no growth in a life free of friction. It's the friction that carves the muscle, the failures that forge the mindset, the rejections that build resilience. Seneca said, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. So here's the truth. The version of you you're trying to manifest, they're already waiting, not in some future fantasy, but at the end of the resistance you're avoiding. You want inner peace? Then wrestle with your restlessness. You want power? Then face your pain until it loses its teeth. Because once you stop negotiating with your fears, once you stop asking for the path to be easier, and instead ask to be stronger, that's when manifestation becomes real. It's not comfort that changes you, it's contact with chaos, handled with courage, filtered through discipline, transformed into fuel. Let the struggle shape you, or it will own you. But once you choose to own it, everything else bends in your favor. You scroll to silence the anxiety. You binge to mute the boredom. You chase noise because silence terrifies you. But have you ever asked, what exactly are you trying to drown out? Marcus Aurelius used to rise before dawn, not to check messages or count likes, but to remind himself, nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. Yet most of us can't hear ourselves anymore, not because we're lost, but because we're too loud, too stimulated, too available to everything but the voice within. Here's the Stoic paradox. You think clarity will come from more information, but it only comes from less noise. Stillness isn't inactivity. It's power focused, its presence sharpened, its action without addiction. You don't manifest peace by repeating affirmations in a chaotic environment. You cultivate it by creating a space quiet enough for wisdom to echo back. This isn't just ancient philosophy. It's a modern mental survival skill. Because every platform is a battlefield, and attention is the currency everyone's stealing. So if this video is stirring something in you, a craving for clarity, a hunger for depth, a pull toward inner power, then subscribe now. Not just to this channel, but to the part of yourself that's ready to remember, to rise, to reset. Because this channel isn't just content, it's a mirror. And if you keep showing up, you'll keep finding pieces of yourself you thought you lost. Comment below if you've ever felt overwhelmed by noise, digital or internal, and share this with someone who needs a moment of stillness today. You visualize the outcome. You dream of the result. You script the future like a movie, down to the applause, the success, the validation. But then, reality doesn't follow the script. The job doesn't come. The views don't rise. The person doesn't stay. And suddenly, it wasn't just a dream. It was a setup for disappointment. You see, the danger of modern manifestation isn't in hoping. It's in attaching, clinging, demanding life deliver what you've imagined, exactly as you've imagined it. But Stoicism says, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Seneca put it differently. The wise man looks to the purpose of all actions, not to the outcome, because you're not entitled to the result. You're only responsible for the effort. You don't control the algorithm, the economy, other people's opinions, or even how tomorrow unfolds. But you do control the discipline to show up, the intention behind your action, the clarity of your character. That's where freedom lives, not in bending reality to your will, but in showing up regardless of what reality throws. This is what separates Stoic manifestation from wishful thinking. It's not, I deserve this because I want it. It's, I will become the kind of person who can handle anything, success or silence. When you detach from the outcome, you reclaim your peace. You become untouchable because whether it works or not, whether it comes or not, you're already whole. You're already winning. There's no anxiety in aligned action, no suffering. In surrendered effort, you work, you give, you plant, and let the harvest come in its own season. This isn't passivity. This is poise. This is power. You manifest not by demanding, but by deserving, by doing the work with no need for applause, by trusting the process and releasing the pressure. So take a breath. Ask yourself, are you obsessed with the finish line or committed to the road? Because if you can learn to love the path, you've already won, even if no one else sees it yet. Just think positive, raise your vibration, act like it's already yours. These are the mantras of modern manifestation, innocent on the surface, but silently dangerous. Because when positivity becomes a prison, when reality is filtered through denial, you don't become powerful, you become fragile. You're told to ignore the pain, suppress the struggle, smile through failure, pretend things are fine. But Stoicism looks you in the eye and says, life is suffering. But your response is where freedom begins. It doesn't ask you to fake strength, it trains you to build it, not by escaping hardship, but by walking through it, eyes open, heart steady, unflinching. Epictetus didn't preach positive vibes only. He taught, when something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude toward it. That means, don't lie to yourself, don't sugarcoat the chaos, don't plaster affirmations over an unexamined soul. Face it, feel it, then forge yourself through it. Because if your self-belief depends on avoiding negativity, what happens when real pain hits? What happens when the deal falls through? When the friend betrays you? When the body breaks down? You crumble because your mindset was built on comfort, not character. Stoic manifestation is different. It doesn't reject reality. It roots you in it. It doesn't run from adversity. It prepares you for it. Instead of think positive, you train to think clearly. Instead of speak it into existence, you act with discipline regardless of existence. You're not delusional. You're dangerous in the best way because you no longer need reality to coddle you. You've trained your mind to stand tall when the world bends. This isn't pessimism. It's preparation, and it's the only way to manifest real power. So when they tell you to just think good thoughts, remember, your strength doesn't come from the thoughts you repeat. It comes from the truths you're willing to face. You don't need to pretend it's already yours. You need to become the kind of person who's unfazed whether it is or isn't. Because the real glow-up isn't energetic. It's ethical, it's philosophical, it's internal, and it shows up when no one's watching. When life hits hard and you don't flinch, that's Stoic manifestation. It doesn't make you invincible. It makes you impossible to destroy. Everyone wants to attract something: love, respect, money, peace. So we chase, we beg, we scream affirmations into the mirror, trying to convince the universe that we're worthy. But Stoicism takes a quieter path, one rooted in the ancient principle of logos, the divine order, the rational flow, the inner harmony between your soul and the structure of reality. Attraction isn't about asking, it's about aligning. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. When your thoughts, words, and actions are in sync, when your desires match your duties, when your heart is clear and your habits are consistent, you don't have to chase, you start to draw things in, because energy doesn't lie. Stillness speaks louder than noise, and the person who walks with quiet confidence pulls more than the one who pushes with desperation. This is the Stoic secret. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are, not the version you broadcast online, but the one you rehearse in silence. So when you sit down to journal your goals, don't ask the universe for a soft life. Ask yourself, have I built the strength to hold what I say I desire? Because you don't get what you desire, you get what you're prepared to carry, and the world, like nature, doesn't reward want, it rewards worth. To channel logos is to rise above noise, to make decisions based on principle, not pressure, to keep your word when it's inconvenient, to delay gratification with grace, to remain unmoved by praise or criticism. When you live like that, you become rare, and what is rare is magnetic. You won't need to chase validation. Opportunities will find you. People will respect you without knowing why, because they can feel it. Your clarity, your command, your calm. The man or woman rooted in logos doesn't need tricks or tactics. Their presence is the proof. Their consistency is the signal. Their integrity is the invitation. So stop begging the universe to notice you. Start building a self it can't ignore. Because when you master your mind, when you live in harmony with reason and virtue, you're no longer a beggar hoping for scraps of attention. You are the flame, and everything else is drawn to your light. You've heard it before. You're addicted to your phone. You have no willpower. You're wasting your life scrolling. But what if that's not the whole truth? What if the screen isn't the real problem? What if it's just the shield, the smoke screen, the escape tunnel we run to when we can't face the truth in the silence? Here's the echo. You're not addicted to the phone. You're avoiding yourself, avoiding the parts of you don't understand, avoiding the decisions you keep postponing, avoiding the discomfort of being alone with your thoughts. And so we stay plugged in, overstimulated but underwhelmed, entertained but empty, connected to everyone, but disconnected from who we really are. The Stoics knew this kind of slavery, not to devices, but to distraction, to desire, to emotional dependence. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality. We suffer in the scroll, not because of what we see, but because we're using it to escape what we feel." That's why this isn't just about turning off your phone. It's about turning inward, looking at your cravings without judgment, looking at your fears without flinching, looking at your habits without lying to yourself. Because every moment you spend avoiding your inner world gives your outer world more power over you. And that's not freedom. That's spiritual poverty. That's being chained to things that can't feed your soul. So pause. Ask yourself honestly, what am I really running from when I reach for the screen? And when you find the answer, don't shame yourself. Don't run from it again. Sit with it. Hold it like a mirror. Let it teach you. Because the phone doesn't control you. You surrender to it. And what you surrender to, you can take back. One breath, one choice, one boundary at a time. You don't need a detox. You need direction, not escape, but engagement with your own life, your own values, your own mind. You say you want more peace, more money, more success, more clarity. So you close your eyes and visualize. You chant affirmations into the mirror. You write goals in gold ink under a full moon. But the Stoics would pause and ask, have you become the kind of person who deserves what you seek? Because in Stoicism, there's no room for fantasy detached from action, no law of attraction without the law of becoming. Epictetus said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Meaning, you don't attract wealth by wanting it. You attract it by embodying the virtues that create it. Discipline, patience, humility, and relentless effort. You don't attract peace by whispering mantras. You attract peace by mastering your desires, by training your mind to stay still in chaos, by letting go of outcomes you cannot control. You don't attract love by scripting it in your journal. You attract it by becoming someone trustworthy, whole, and deeply rooted. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If your habits contradict your hopes, your future is already decided. The Stoic doesn't hope for transformation. He becomes the transformation in thought, in action, in moment-to-moment consistency. This is where modern manifestation gets it wrong. It tells you to think it. The Stoic tells you to be it. So if you're visualizing a bold future, start building the character it requires. And then, trust that your nature will draw the rest to you. Not because the universe is responding to your wish, but because it always reflects your will, not the fantasies in your mind, but the fire in your actions. How many days have you wasted waiting for a sign, a moment, a magical shift in energy, as if fate will knock on your door with an instruction manual and a medal for your potential? Stoicism flips the script. You are not some helpless dreamer floating through divine timing. You are a builder, a maker of reality, and reality does not move for the passive. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could be good today, but instead, you choose tomorrow." Let that sink in. You're not lacking signs, you're ignoring them. Every distraction you resist, every emotion you master, every hard thing you do when no one's watching, that is the universe responding, not with ease, but with evidence that you're ready. Because the Stoic doesn't sit around waiting to be chosen. He chooses himself, over and over again, not just in words, but in choices, habits, commitments, sacrifices. The universe isn't withholding what you want, it's matching your intensity. And if your life still looks the same year after year, it's not because your vision board is broken, it's because your behavior hasn't changed. The Stoic believes in momentum, not miracles. He builds while others beg. He sharpens his mind, strengthens his body, clarifies his purpose. He doesn't say, "I'll start when I'm ready." He says, "Action makes me ready." And maybe that's your wake-up call today, that your dreams aren't waiting for more belief, they're waiting for more movement. The universe bends not for those who hope, but for those who move, who take the weight of their potential and carry it like a burden and a gift. So stop checking the stars, start checking your patterns. Stop manifesting through imagination, start manifesting through integrity, because at the end of the day, it won't matter how much you visualized it, only how much you became it. Your future is not something you're trying to magnetize, it's something you're meant to materialize, and that begins, not someday, but right now, in the smallest possible action you've been avoiding. Take it, own it, and watch the world shift to meet the force of who you've decided to become. You won't always see the results right away. Sometimes you'll show up for weeks, months, even years, and it'll feel like no one sees you, like nothing is changing, like your efforts are whispers in a world that only hears screams. But here's what the Stoics knew. The results aren't the proof of your progress. Your discipline is. Every morning you rise and do what you said you'd do. You're winning. Every urge you resist, every moment of clarity you steal back from chaos, is a silent victory written into the fabric of your future, because discipline doesn't always reward you with applause, it rewards you with identity. You become the kind of person who endures, who resists distraction, who acts despite fear, and in a world obsessed with attention, that kind of quiet strength is rare, but rare is what transforms. Rare is what commands respect, not just from others, but from yourself. So if you felt unseen lately, if your growth feels invisible, if you're doing the work and wondering if it even matters, this is your confirmation. It does. Not because the algorithm noticed, not because your friends clapped, but because you didn't quit, and that's what builds a life worth living. So keep going, keep choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. Keep becoming the kind of man or woman your future self would thank. And hey, if this message stirred something in you, if it made you reflect or breathe deeper or feel less alone on this quiet path, then share it, because someone else out there needs to hear it too. Someone else is silently struggling through the same fog, and this video might be the rope they grab. And if you haven't already, subscribe. We're building a tribe of thinkers, warriors, and builders here, not just watchers, but doers. People like you, who crave clarity, courage, and peace. In the beginning, we talked about how people sit, wish, dream, waiting for the universe to deliver what they never dared to build. But now you know, that's not the Stoic way. The Stoic doesn't sit under the stars asking for signs. He becomes the sign. She becomes the light. You don't manifest a disciplined life by chanting it into existence. You manifest it by creating it. One choice, one action, one breath at a time. And yes, it's slower, it's lonelier, it's harder, but it's real. You don't need to beg the universe. You need to become someone the universe respects, not by asking, but by acting, not by wishing, but by walking. Because here's what the Stoics knew. You already have everything you need right now within you. The strength, the clarity, the will, the fire. It's there, waiting to be remembered, waiting to be chosen. So if you've ever wondered what the Stoic version of manifestation looks like, it's not about scripting your dream life. It's about living your real one with integrity and letting that life shape what you attract and, more importantly, who you become. So go, not to manifest, but to move, not to attract, but to embody, not to beg the world for more, but to become more. And watch as the world quietly shifts to meet you. If this video resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments that what's one action you're taking this week to stop wishing and start becoming. Drop it below and inspire someone.